Yes, we can finally say those words. It is game week here in 2022. The end of August always brings smiles to our faces. I'm Daniel Gilman. He's Mick Haley, and this is Six Rotations. Thanks so much for joining us once again. We are brought to you by SNA Sports, better equipment for a better game. And Mick, we have plenty of better games to talk about. This episode is jam-packed with our marquee matches here in week one. Opening day is just days away, Friday, August 26th, Saturday, August 27th. And then once we break down our biggest matches of the weekend, we will talk to one of the biggest middles in the nation the last few years. It's the back-to-back-to-back AVCA All-American middle out in Bowling Green, Kentucky for Western Kentucky in Lauren Matthews. She's one of just two returning All-Americans that isn't from a Power 5 conference. So I'll kind of throw that trivia out there for you guys and see if you can think of who the other first, second, or third team returning All-American is, not from a Power 5. Well, Mick, let's jump right into things. There are early matches. There are late matches. I don't want to waste much time here. We want to get to the good stuff. No polls for you this week. We don't have anything to kind of go over. If you need a reminder, this is what the top 25 poll looks like, and we will be giving you the rankings of each matchup here this upcoming weekend. But in my opinion, Mick, there is one doubleheader that stands high and supreme above all others. And we talked a little bit about it last week. For me, it's got to be your Longhorns headed up to Columbus to face the media darlings and Jen Flynn Oldenburg's crew. We've got matches Friday and Saturday. So for me, that's number one. What about you? What's your most exciting matchup of the weekend?
No, I think that's certainly it, because there's so many questions about both of these teams. You know, like I said last week, Ohio State kind of died at the end of the season. They want to come back. They're very interesting, but they haven't seemed to make too many changes. Texas is almost completely different with battles in every position. And I saw a clip of a match that they played, a warm-up match that they played. And they don't have people in the same positions, at least in this match, as we thought they would have them in. So, yeah, this is my doubleheader.
I think I saw a highlight of Zoe Fleck making an unbelievable play in the back row, the new libero down in Austin. But as you can imagine, we are almost as excited to just see where everyone plays, because it's certainly a matchup of, chemistry and consistency against the top recruits and the big name transfers and the two Huskers and the Bruin and the Wildcat and everyone gelling together with O'Neal and Eggleston. So that one starts at 7 o'clock Central Time on FS1 national television on Friday, then Big Ten Network Saturday at 7. But I want to jump into a underrated matchup that I think not a lot of people are going to necessarily tune into, but I am excited for. It's down in College Station, a 3-team tournament that I teased a little bit last week in our first episode. But we've got number 6 Pittsburgh against a team returning everyone in Blackwell and Froling and company, with San Diego ranked 25th. An early start, 2 o'clock in the Central Time Zone out in College Station, Texas on Friday. Pitt, San Diego, and then you throw Hawaii into the mix. Can you think of a tournament with 3 teams this weekend that has more firepower than those 3?
No, I can't. The question is, what does Hawaii's lost their marketing? You don't hear from Hawaii much right now. And Robin Moe is the head coach out there. She's really good. I think this is a real question to see if Hawaii is a team that will challenge this year.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they'll do. They won the Big West Conference last year. It was a tight race between UC Santa Barbara and Hawaii. Brooke Van Sickle, the All-American's gone. Skylar Williams in the star in the middle is gone. But Long is one of my favorite setters on the West Coast. We'll have some West Coast segments for you here in the upcoming weeks. And I think Hawaii, if they can turn some heads, and I think it kind of starts with that San Diego duel. If something goes on out there in College Station, but you can't count out Texas A&M either. So I'm interested to see where those three teams sort themselves out. There's one more tournament, though, that isn't going to make our graphic, but I have a very keen eye on, and it's Caleb Banworth with Ole Miss dueling up against 2 ranked teams out in Georgia Tech and Illinois. And so that's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday split. and Illinois Georgia Tech will take on Sunday. And that's one that isn't going to make some of your pundits' top lists for the weekend, but those are three teams that are very powerful. Maybe not one necessarily that's going to sweep through, so we could see a little bit of bloodening there.
We talked about Illinois being ranked so high, I believe 17, something like that. This is a chance for Illinois to put themselves on the map. And I think Georgia Tech is challenging Final Four, as I do Pitt in that last discussion we had. I think Pitt is the winner of that, but it's how well those other teams play against Pitt is going to be really interesting. But I think this is a big challenge for Illinois. They get to play at home, I believe, and so they have a chance to really make a name for themselves and have people watching them.
So, of course, when I mention the three teams, I know some of you fans are going to scream out a certain tournament, but because they're not all playing each other, I'm not necessarily going to count it. We've got Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Baylor, of course, down in Fort Worth. There's TCU thrown in hosting that as well. So let's go ahead and look at the graphics of our marquee matches here for Friday. You've got the Ohio State, Texas, Pitt, San Diego, Minnesota, Baylor. I am not necessarily going to say that this is going to be that marquee match until Baylor can prove it to us, right? Until all of these new faces returning very little. Interested to see, of course, how Landfair and Shaftmaster and all of those will blend together. And then you've got Kansas, Utah, two ranked teams. We're not sure about the TV setting there. I believe it'll be on Pac-12 Plus. So hopefully everyone will be able to watch that out there in Salt Lake City. Kansas, a team, we mentioned them a little bit in our preseason poll reveal. I think they're a team that can certainly turn some heads here in the opening weekend.
I looked at Kansas roster, and Ray has shored up that team a little bit, but I'm interested in that one too, because I think Utah has Maddie Robinson, and she's only 5'10", but she is a big time scorer. She can hit the ball. I want to see what Ray comes up with to match that. And I want to go back just a second and point out that Baylor has picked a freshman whose sisters have been dominant in collegiate play in the past. But this Simpson kid, Riley Simpson, 6'4", freshman for Baylor, might be a player that gives them a chance to go again. She's going to have a great arm. She knows volleyball. The whole family has played volleyball. I think the dad's been involved for the last 15 years because of the daughters. So it's been fun to watch there. I think you watch that. Those are individual players that can make a difference. Kansas doesn't seem to have anybody but Dooley, who transferred from Florida, in new. So they have to be pretty confident with their roster. So you're right. It's interesting. That will be one that is a toss-up. I have that as a toss-up.
Utah's a tough place to play. I guess I'd give the edge there, but there were, of course, saying goodbye to so much of that talent with Drews and Jankowicz, returning Yet and Ramirez as well. And Baylor did add Lauren Harrison from North Carolina, Mallory Talbert, who is a formidable middle in the SEC for Texas A&M. So those are certainly some names to look at, in addition to all of the newcomers for Ryan McGuire's squad. And then the final one I added here with Kentucky and Marquette, because I was pumping up Kentucky a little bit last week, and we got some responses, good and bad, about them. This is certainly one at home in Lexington that you can't lose if you're Craig Skinner, because Marquette is a team that will come in there and they will bludgeon you early and really make you earn it. I can't see a three-setter in that one, to be honest.
I think Kentucky seems to always start slow. If you've watched over the last 10 years, Craig's teams, the first 3 or 4 weeks, they seem to be kind of feeling their way through things. When he gets going is when the SEC matches start playing. That's when his team really picks up. So it'll be interesting to see if Marquette doesn't have a chance here to pull a stunner, I think.
And for Marquette, they've got Claire Mosher back, Ellie Kuntz. They did say goodbye to the All-American in Wolf. Rennie and Wirch as well are gone. And then a couple honorable mentions for me, and I want to hear about you for Friday. We got to talk about Big Red. Tulsa's going to come to town to face Nebraska. We'll talk a little bit more about them on the Saturday slate. What about you? When you look at Friday, is there anything that jumps out to you?
No, the one thing that's really interesting to me is the Long Beach State-Oregon matchup. And I say that because of Tyler Hildebrand taking over the Long Beach job. And he's a Long Beach guy, and the head coach for Oregon is a Long Beach guy, and they're playing each other. And this is going to be really a interesting match to watch. And it's going to decide whether Long Beach is going to challenge in that conference, I think, because we need to see what Tyler's put together.
Well, not just the coach, right? He's brought some talent with him. Callie Schwarzenbach's made the trip across the country to now join that action-packed crew out there in Long Beach. And then Matt Ulmer, as you mentioned, 5 years as the assistant coach down at the beach. He's in his fifth or sixth season, I think sixth season now in Eugene. That one's on Saturday. That's a 2:00 slate. So let's carry you right into this. It's all good. Let's carry you right into the Saturday schedule. And it starts with that 2:00 game. I've got my eye on UCLA potentially slipping early. They've got a morning match against the Mustangs of Cal Poly. I'm going to be on the broadcast for the audio stream on gopoly.com. So no bias there. They have Maya Dvoracek, the All-American left-handed right side back, bringing back talent in their all-conference middle and setter too. So with Michael Seeley, the chemistry is going to come, Mick. But with Georgia Tech setter and McKissick, Florida's middle in Forte, you've got two new defensive specialists, right? The All-ACC setter of the year in Cole, the libero, and Dewick, who is Cal Poly's all-conference libero, who's moved over, will probably play DS. No Mac May. It's going to take a little bit of time. You have to hope that UCLA can wake up for a 9 a.m. Pacific time start on Saturday. Were those tough ones for you when you were coaching early in the season?
Well, there were, and I got my team up at 6:00 just to have breakfast and talk and do all of that stuff. At 7:00 we'd have a meeting. 7:30 we'd be over to the gym. 8:00 we'd start the warm up. Everything was early to try to make sure that we were ready to play. I think UCLA has characterily not been good on an early match.
So keep your eye on that one. That'll be on the Mountain West Network, but you might want to mute it and turn on the gopoly.com audio stream, because why not? My lovely voice will be right there with you. So let's bring up the graphic of some of our favorites here on Saturday. Of course, you've got Ohio State, Texas rematching at 7:00 on Big Ten Network. But first, Wisconsin and Baylor. This is where we will see, will the back-to-back help Baylor? I think, to be honest, I'm not so sure that they will put up a big fight against Minnesota in the first game, but something tells me that having some adversity, facing a top 10 team, and then getting right back into it with some rust shaken, Wisconsin plays against TCU first, then has to wake up against Baylor. This one could be a little bit shakier for the Badgers, in my opinion.
Well, it might be, but I tell you, Badgers better not overlook TCU. Their new coach is Baylor, and he has a knack for putting groups together, and his daughter is going to be the setter on that team. So she is also transferred from Baylor to TCU. So I think Wisconsin better not look past TCU. But I think Baylor's 0-2 in this weekend, and only because I think he has to get people together. So I'll ring this bell every time I think that we have a good time to say that somebody is going to be 2-0 or 0-2 here.
That's great. Nick's currently traveling. I'm still in this new apartment. I haven't put anything on the wall yet, but don't worry. I'm willing to take suggestions. If you guys want something specifically on the wall, I'm not going to necessarily say I'll do it, but I'm currently shopping for some good background 6 rotation style volleyball themed. But we've got Jason Williams, as you mentioned, the new head coach at TCU. His daughter, Callie, grad transfer from Waco. But it's a TCU team that also brought in a defensive specialist in Keegan Polk from Baylor, an A&M libero in Sabrina Sestala. So there's new faces there. I think there's an outside hitter from Georgia in Lyric Stewart. Didn't play too much in the SEC, but anything is an upgrade for a TCU team that couldn't get to the 10-win mark last year. They also have a Washington State middle transfer in Michaela Myers. Let's get to some of our better Saturday matchups, though, because in the nightcap section, right, you have the Ohio State, Texas. I really am very interested in this Nebraska Pepperdine battle. 7:00 Central Time, Big Ten Network Plus. Tulsa's not necessarily going to be the toughest of challenges, but Rachel Aarons is back for Pepperdine. And I'm not going to say it to you Husker fans, but we have seen early season troubles in the last few years for Cook. You remember that 5-setter against UNO. I wouldn't be surprised if Pepperdine put a little scare into the Devaney Center.
Yeah, and I actually had one of the Pepperdine kids in the tournament that we played in Croatia this summer. Emmerman on the right side is a big 6'3" block attacker for Pepperdine, so that could put some stress on Nebraska. But I think not. I think Nebraska wins here. They just are. He's challenged his setter, as you said last week. He's already challenged his setter.
We've got to discuss that. We're going to take a little bit of time here and discuss it. So, I was going to say Chillingworth, Ammerman, Zayala, there's big names out there in Malibu that could certainly benefit from more attention being paid to Rachel Aarons. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on in that match. And I just want to wrap it up before we get into the Orr versus Hames talk, because Louisville at South Dakota is a sleeper to keep an eye on, because the Cardinals have new setters, right? It's either Morningstar or Glock. They lost to Western Kentucky in their scrimmage in the offseason. No more Stevenson, but you do have a couple. No more Iko Jones, but Chauce is back. So I've got an eye on that one at 7:00. And then maybe a chip on the shoulder for the Washington State team receiving votes at BYU, but hard to bet against Heather Olmstead and company at home in Provo. So that one might be a little bit of a walkover. But if the Cougars have something to say, the Washington State Cougars, that is, this would be a good matchup to do it. Let's talk about Nebraska, though, right? Because nearly 7,000 showed up to the scrimmage this past weekend. It was an awesome display. Gives me goosebumps to even think about the amount of fans that can come into a scrimmage and just love a sport and a team like that. But before the scrimmage, lots of storylines. We are starting to get into the Real Housewives of Lincoln here. John Cook is enjoying the drama that is surrounding this ball club. He comes out and says that Kennedy Orr, who you asked if there were rumors about, and I got some flack for kind of discarding it, but I'll say that my main associate in crime over there at the Big Ten Network, Emily Eman, is on my side by saying that it would be astonishing to bench a 4-time All-American in Nicklin Hames. I would be shocked if this isn't all a show. And then John Cook comes out and says that Kennedy Orr is less than impressive. And what were the exact words? Do you have it written down? It's something like she was not living up to the standard that he set for her, which is a wild thing for a coach to say in the preseason.
He said she was playing like a freshman.
Woo! Unbelievable. It is.
Yeah, well, I feel
throwing gas in the fire.
I feel for the coach in this situation, because he's had this youngster in the program. She's been backing up Haynes. She plays free in practice. She doesn't have any pressure. She looks great all the time. And all at once in the offseason, he says, okay, we're going to switch and we're going to go with this kid. Now she's got all the pressure. Now she knows what Nicklin went through for 4 years here. So it'd be interesting. I think he stays with her. I don't think he goes back to Haynes, but maybe early he goes back and forth.
Maybe. Well, we saw last season Orr played, started a couple matches, had to be pulled for Hames. Obviously, Nicklin takes him to the national championship. I don't see it. I could see the rumblings of a 6-2, but then everyone says, no, Nebraska will not go to a 6-2, even though they have the hitters for it.
Yeah.
We'll see. Hames has improved her blocking so much in the last few years that it would be such a surprise to not have a setter in the front row. But we've got plenty of time to discuss that, Mick.
So I had Tony Anderson at USC, and we played a 6-2, and Tony Anderson is one of the best setters you've ever seen. She was willing to go along with that. Cook has been so good about finding alternate positions for his players when somebody gets better. They just don't go to the bench, except for Lexi Sun. That's the only one that was replaced, who was a star player that went to the bench. He's done his changed liberos, made the other one actually a backcourt attacker.
Knuckles,
Knuckles was really good out of the back row, hitting to deep one. He's always found a way to manipulate this so that players don't leave too much. So this will be an interesting one to follow to see what he actually can come up with. But I think we were the last team to win a national championship playing a 6-2. And we played it both years. So it's interesting to see if anybody will try that. And I think the other one that's looking at that might be Texas. They have to consider that with their talent.
Yeah, when every time you have the overflux of hitters, it's certainly something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Like I said, so much to talk about once the season starts. Next week's episode is going to be a banger. I can't guarantee that we'll keep that one under 30 or 35 minutes, but two more matches to just throw out there as honorable mentions here on Saturday night. Purdue at Tennessee, good one down in Knoxville. The Boilermakers ranked in the top 15, but only bring back maybe like 1.5 total starters from that Elite Eight run. And then Penn State, the new look Schumacher Cauley crew with, a new setter and new middles and new outsides and everything. They're ranked 20th. That's going to be on Big Ten Plus against West Virginia, an NCAA tournament team from a season ago. And the Big 12 is not getting a lot of respect entering this year after getting the 7 teams and so many of them getting bumped in the first round as West Virginia did. So those are 2 honorable mentions for you. Something I'm excited for is Jersey Watch. So fans, I'm going to challenge you on Friday and Saturday to tweet at us at 6 Rotations which jerseys you think are the freshest. I've seen some tweets. I've seen some cool leaked out photos from teams. I think I saw Georgia Tech has a cool honeycomb one. Northwestern added some Gothic flair, but I'm not going to highlight anything until the matches come out and we've got fans tweeting at us. We'll display your tweets, as many as they come, to decide which jerseys have the best opening weekend. But for now, Mick and I are going to step aside and we are going to be joined momentarily by Lauren Matthews, the 3-time All-American stud in the middle for Western Kentucky. She's got an all-time hitting percentage of over .425. And I am very excited to get to this interview because she's got flair. She's got some comedy thrown in. And this will be our first interview here in 2022. So Mick and I are so happy to be joined by Lauren here with you. So signing off for this part of the episode. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Mick and I now joined by the 3-time All-American Lauren Matthews down in Bowling Green. And Lauren, getting ready for a big game week. Is everything kind of moving 100 miles an hour for you here on this Monday of the first week of the season?
Yeah, honestly, this month of August has flown by. Like, I can't believe next week will be August 31st, right? Yeah, like the end of August. Mind blowing. And it's also, I feel like it's moving a little faster just because it's my last semester. Like, I don't even finish out the year. And so I'm just trying to take everything in as it goes by and just grateful to still be here.
Was it a no doubt decision to kind of come back for a 5th year and give it one more whirl?
Oh yeah, when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, I'll be back."
Love it. Well, there's one big change for you guys out in Bowling Green, and that's the black court. And I'm curious what the difference is playing on the black court compared to the other colors.
Well, I feel like it's different more so for the defensive players and the people that are in the backcourt and diving around. I mean, I do a little diving here and there when I'm trying to save a ball, so I'll feel it, and that matters. But yeah, it's a very nice transition and even aesthetically pleasing to the crowd and stuff. Like, seeing the court from afar is very cool.
Go ahead, Mick.
Hey, Lauren, you had over 700 swings last year. That means the opponents are probably going to bunch in on you, and you're going to see a lot of hands. Are you running any new routes? Has your coach got you doing some different things to try to get you open?
No, honestly, we're doing the same thing. It's been working. I've seen 3 blockers, haven't seen 4 yet. I'm just kidding. I've seen 3 blockers before, so it's nothing new. So yeah, just doing the same thing.
All right.
Can we pencil you in for like 900 swings this season, or are they going to try to ease up the workload?
Honestly, it might be about the same. It could be more balanced, but it just depends on how our other offensive players are doing and our scouting report.
Yeah, and a little bit of overturn here at WKU. You still have Paige Briggs down to your left side, superstar out there. She's going to be playing all 6 rotations. But who are some of the bigger names in this week or so of practice that you've been able to start to familiarize yourself? This is your chance to kind of shout out a couple people.
I will do one shout out, and I'll shout out Abby. She is our true freshman, and she had to step in the role as the libero just because of an injury that one of our starting liberos, or she was going to be a starting libero, but she got an injury like right before the first day of practice, and so she's just going to be stepping in, and it's kind of a big role, and we're just going to carry her because I know how that can be being a freshman out there on the for the first time and having a major role on the court. So shout out to Abby.
All right, you got to carry her so she can carry you with some big pancake digs back there. And speaking of pancakes, I had to get a little bit of details from my friend who's your assistant coach, Jessica Lucas. And I want to bring up one story here and try to get a little bit of verification for it, okay? Because it's before, you know where I'm going with this? It's before the Conference USA Championship. And you're coming down for breakfast at the hotel. You sit down next to Coach Hudson, Travis, and what is it? An entire plate of bacon covered with syrup before the championship match. Is that confirmed?
That is confirmed.
And what did he say?
He just kind of gave me like a crazy look, like, what are you doing? And I was just like, I got this. Like, don't worry about it. It's all up here.
And did you eat the whole plate?
I did.
And did you have 30 kills and win MVP of the tournament?
I don't know about how many kills, but I did get MVP.
Okay. So we're gonna keep the uncharacteristic eating habits. What would you say is your typical pregame meal?
It honestly depends on if we're traveling, it depends on the hotel, and it depends on like where we go. The reason I got bacon and syrup at that hotel was because there weren't many options. I'm kind of a picky eater sometimes, so that plays a role into it. But depending on the options, I feel like I eat a balanced meal here and there.
Okay, breakfast of champions. Mick, what did you eat? What did you eat on your normal game days, Mick?
What did I eat?
Yeah.
Oh, I always have the same thing. I'm a Midwest guy. I'm a meat and potatoes guy. If I can get a little meat, a little potatoes, my wife says my plate's always all white, no greens. I'm happy as all get out, and that's the way I go. But I have a question for Lauren that is a little bit more serious, because if you're thinking of more swings or even the 700 plus swings, that really depends on your passing, right? If those passers don't get your setter the ball, you're not going to get those swings. So what's it look like so far?
I think our passing is coming along. We're still trying to piece some things together within the backcourt, but I have a lot of faith in our defense and our backcourt. So we're moving along.
So is there a way that they can get the ball to you a little higher on the passes that aren't good, so at least they can use you on swings, especially in the transition game? I know the first ball kill game, you're awesome. And that two ball that they run in the middle with you is, that's volleyball. That's the best set in the world. And if you hit it like you do, you're going to score. Teams don't believe that. They think they have to run quick, but you're good quick also. So it's hard to get the ball quick to you, though, when the passing's off the net. So how do they run you when the ball's at the 3-meter line?
Well, even when the ball is not necessarily in system, they still can set me out of system. I just have to be patient and wait and set myself up in a good position to be set. And so I feel like out of system, I still get a decent amount of sets out of system.
Do you score?
I think so. Yeah.
I like that. Let me ask Lauren, what's your plan after, you finish at WKU? What's the mindset in terms of having this phenomenal super senior season and then ...
Well, afterwards, I want to continue to play professionally. And so I think I'm going to start out playing somewhere overseas. I don't know exactly where yet, but I also want to work my way back into the States, because I think it'd be kind of cool to play in the Aurora Volleyball League in Houston. And so that's something I definitely want to eventually do.
That's pretty interesting. Do you feel like you have to go overseas first to do that, and then you come back, you have credentials? Is that right? Is that what I'm hearing?
It's not necessarily a have to. It's, I would say, strategically planning.
She wants to be worldly, you know, like she wants to experience a little bit of the international taste.
Yeah.
Well, if the Italians were a little bit more open-minded, and they set you the way that you get set at Western Kentucky, you could play in the Italian league, and that's one of the top leagues in the world, and that's a fun league. A lot of our USA players play in that league, but you probably have to work your way up, huh?
Yeah, that's true. That is kind of something I'm a little nervous about. Just for one, middles don't get set that much.
Yeah.
And two, the ball is a lot lower, so you're kind of depending on your setter. But so I'm still trying to figure out if I even want to play middle when I play professionally, just because of the lack of sets. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to set the ball. So
Well,
see
that's
how.
what I thought. Maybe Travis was going to work you outside a little bit so they could get the ball to you more and get you into that 1,000 swing range. You know, that's something that seems like you would like from listening to you.
I mean, I would like to play outside overseas, but if you play outside, you have to play back row, and back row is, I can do serve receive. Defense, that's a little bit of a struggle.
Hey, if you can pass, girl, you're in business. That's all they want you to do: pass and hit. If you can pass and hit, you don't have to worry about the defense.
Yeah, we'll see how it all unfolds.
Lauren, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me.
For Lauren Matthews, he's Mick Haley. I'm Daniel Gilman. This is Six Rotations.